We're speaking about the action model, and we've got three different pillars. We've got our confidence, and we've got our fear, and now we've got our frustration. And in the previous video, we looked at what happens when our fear and frustration levels equal and we start taking action. But what happens when we get to a point where our frustration level equals our confidence level? And as we spoke about, as fear and frustration rises, often our confidence will shrink and we feel unworthy. And it's often worn down over a number of times, repeats situations or a long-term effect like long-term illness, bad relationships, poor finances, job issues, nasty bosses, working conditions, etc., etc. And our confidence sort of slides, but then our fear and our frustration get to a point where we almost explode. So let's look at the aspect of our fear. When our fear equals and exceeds our confidence, what happens? Think about a situation, and maybe you might not have been in one yourself, luckily, but think of a movie that you might have watched, is that you see the people exposed to such fear that all of a sudden your confidence is lost, and which means you've run out of resources. And when you don't have anything more in you to address the fear, you become paralyzed. And that fear just rises up so much that people just stop, and you almost can die of fright because you've lost the ability to address that fear. That fear's risen up so much so when it exceeds your confidence and used up all your resources, and you might have used your resources and yet they didn't work, and that fear rises and rises and rises due to certain circumstances, you become absolutely paralyzed. Not a nice place to be, but interesting there is that as that fear is rising, our confidence needs to grow. But human nature and circumstances and stuff, and it's so easy to sit back and sitting in the studio here and saying, grow your confidence when faced by fear. But in reality, it's really, really difficult. That fear of illness and finances and the fear of the unknown. And when reality becomes so fearful that you become so paralyzed, it's that point where your confidence is equal or less than your fear. And really what it means is you've run out of your resource to address that fear. And if you're in that situation there, I feel for you. I am so sorry for where you're at. And I ask you to find resources in other people to help address your fears. And we're going to speak about how to address fear and frustration in the next video. The other graph is when our frustration rises up and we get so angry that we want to break something. And again, our resources will be reduced until that frustration exceeds our level of confidence. And at the point where our frustration has overtaken our confidence, we have a meltdown. When meltdown occurs, it's just a point where we lose control. We just lose it. We have frustration and that complete meltdown. And it could be having a fit, it could be stomping, it could be screaming, it could be pulling at the hair, it could be banging on the wall. And we express meltdowns in various ways. It could also be just that withdrawal into a quiet corner. And various people handle meltdowns in various ways. And the idea is to just recognize what's happening there. It's purely that level of frustration has exceeded your confidence and you don't have any resources to address that. Stop, count to 10. Easier said than done. But it's the idea, remove yourself away from that era of frustration, regain your confidence, rebuild your resources, and carry on. We're going to look at how to build the three different columns in our action model. Join us at the next video.